Now recording, Craig. How are we doing this evening, Craig? Holy shit, am I tired? You know, figuring out the routine with the second child and everything like that. Luckily, I have the week off, so maybe I'll recover a little bit. Probably not, but we out here. But overall, it's good to be back doing a couple episodes. But put the episodes out last week. Talked about what I was doing and everything, and then totally forgot to do the Resident Evil 9 review prior to me going on the sabbatical, I guess you could say. So both of those episodes are uploaded. If you wanted to listen to them, I guess you could look at it on YouTube if you wanted to. It's totally up to you. But, you got the options of Spotify or YouTube. But yeah, basically you wanted to do another episode, and this one is about Pokémon Fire Red. So, I guess background for myself, I started playing Pokemon, I don't know exactly what year, but I had like a Game Boy, like an original Game Boy, and then a Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy SP, I think. And then that's where I kind of died off. And then didn't really pick Pokemon back up until the Switch with Sword and Shield, Legend Arceus, Let's Go Pikachu. No. Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee, one of the two. I don't remember. And then I think I tried Scarlet. One of the two, maybe Violet. I don't know, either one of those, and I couldn't. It was so bad. But, and then recently beaten Pokemon Legends Z to A, and then now they re-released essentially Pokemon Fire Red, only digital, I think. I don't think they're coming out with the physicals, but I think it's only digital on the Switch, Switch 2. So they re-released it, I guess you would say, on February 27th, which was Pokemon Day. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be like a shadow drop, and it was supposed to be a bigger thing that they were going to talk about on Pokemon Day since it's the 30th anniversary. But it got leaked, so they had to actually started marketing like a week or something before. So it's kind of unfortunate, especially because that Pokemon Day was, in my opinion, pretty lackluster. If you really think about it, because it's like this is the 30th anniversary of the biggest media franchise in the entire world, and all they really talked about was re-releasing Pokemon Fire Red, Leaf Green on Switch and Switch 2 digitally, just ports. And they talked about Gen 10, I guess you say. They showed a trailer of it, which a lot of people were expecting, and it's coming in 2027, and it looked great. But I don't know, I just wish they would quit holding, like, I guess it's Nintendo, like they own Pokemon and everything, but I just wish they would quit hiding their franchises in older things that can't be touched unless you go buy the old systems, because they don't want you to emulate, and if they find out that you are doing those sorts of things, they basically take you down. Like, pretty sure for the Switch 2, if you mess with it, like rig it in some fashion, they just shut down your Switch 2 and you can't play it. So there's no way to hack it, I guess you would say. But I guess it's a good sign, because maybe they're starting to realize that players want the older games to come back. Now, I wish obviously they would have put just original, like red and blue and even yellow on the Switch. I get it. Maybe starting with the remakes of those older games, that would have got a lot. I think that got a lot more people to buy this, even if it is $20. Like I think it's absolutely worth it because if you went and bought the Game Boy Advance and then try to find a copy of like the original Fire Red and Leaf Green, you're talking like a couple hundred, if not more, dollars versus just $20. Yeah, obviously you got to own a Switch or a Switch 2, but still, it's digitally there forever. So, but yeah, I started with Red back in the day, played, and then I got Silver, and then Ruby, I want to say, Ruby. And I might have even got Emerald, and then that's kind of where it fell off for me. I didn't play any of the Black and Whites and Sun and Moons or anything like that. So first 3 gens was my shit essentially, and I truly hope they at least re-release the first 3 gens. And if they stick with the remakes, that's perfectly fine. Because like from what I've saw about Soul Silver and Heart Gold, they're amazing remakes. And then I don't know about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Is it Alpha Sapphire? I don't remember. Anyways, maybe that's the way they go. Just re-releasing it through the remakes of those first 3 gens, and that'd be fine. But anyways, so I really got super excited to go back and play Fire Red, because I've been wanting to play older Pokemon games, and like, I don't know if Nintendo will ever hear this, but like I've attempted emulating like Red before, and it just wasn't the same. Having that handheld right in front of you is awesome. I know the Switch is way different than a Game Boy, but it still gives you that feeling of nostalgia and just taking you back to those times. Like for me, I played the shit out of my Game Boy Color. I had the freaking Silver Edition with Pikachu on it. It was awesome. And I played the shit out of it like at night. Had my little the thing that went over it, and it was like purple. I can't remember the exact name of the item, and it had the little antenna with the light on it and stuff. Oh, it was so awesome. Played in the car all the time when we were driving. And then like when we were out at night too, had that. Oh my gosh. It was awesome. So, I slowly played Fire Red when it first came out in February this year, up until like last month. And that was like my real game to play during the birth of the second child and everything, just because I wasn't trying to focus on any big game, any RPG that I wanted and stuff. So it was pretty awesome that it came out at that time. And I set a goal for myself essentially in mid of April to beat the game. And what I mean by that, beat the game like at least the Elite Four, because like, back in the day that was the goal. You just beat the Elite Four, and the only other thing really to do was catch them all, the literal slogan, and then catch Mewtwo in Cerulean Cave. So, but that was my goal for this, was just to beat the Elite Four and then slowly maybe push away, and try to capture as much as I can until they bring Pokemon home, because I don't have anybody to trade with. So, and then catch the legendaries. The cool thing about Fire Red, and I guess the biggest difference is just looking at it. So obviously you have the graphics and the sound. It's much more up to date. It's got colorful. It's color essentially. And then the gameplay mechanics, it introduces Pokemon natures and abilities like passive effects and holding items in battle. So, and then the end game is where the biggest difference is for the original Red to Fire Red. It introduces the 7 islands. You got 7 islands, um, and it actually takes you through there. And I'm gonna say spoiler, but like this is like a 20-year-old game and a 30-year-old game if you think about it. But it takes you through there anyways through the main story, and then you get to go back to finish off Team Rocket essentially, and then you can go back there to technically, if you miss Moltres, you could capture Moltres. And that's one thing was different. I felt like in this one, I was able to capture the birds so early. Maybe you could do that in the original one, and I was just too dumb as a kid because we didn't have the internet to look up shit. So, like, I had freaking Zapdos as soon as I got Surf. I went back and caught him. It was awesome. And then when I went to Seafoam Islands, I got Articuno. And then when I went to 7 Islands, I got freaking Moltres. So I had the 3 legendary birds before I even went to the Elite Four. So that was awesome, I thought. But yeah, the 7 Islands, I think it was a great storyline. That it added more to the story overall instead of kind of just stopping at Blaine and before Giovanni and stuff. So, and then another thing there's faster pacing in Fire Red. You get the running shoes, because obviously back in the day it was just walking and I think the bike. So that was great. And then I guess in Fire Red, there's no glitches like there was back in the day. The Mew glitch or the broken speed base grid. I didn't do any of that back in the day. I just played the game. So, but yeah, I think the biggest difference is the faster pacing, the graphics, and then the 7 Islands or the addition of the end game. So, and I think I ended up beating the Elite Four with like around 30-ish, if not 35 hours. I'd have to go back and look. I put it in our Discord, in Rack's Discord. 32 hours, yeah. So I beat Elite Four at 32 hours. And like I said, I had the 3 legendary birds, of course, Charizard, my boy, and Primeape, maybe? I don't know. But I beat him. And then I started the end game, and now I'm about 40 hours in. I'm actually right now trying to catch Ho-Oh because, oddly enough, in this one, so, in red, blue, yellow, you only had the original 150 because you couldn't get Mew. It was a rumor about the stupid truck in Saffron, I think, or Vermilion. Wherever you go on the boat, I think it's Vermilion. You could use strength or something to push the truck, and Mew was under there. It was obviously a very big rumor, and they even play into it in a couple extra games, which is funny. But you could get Mewtwo in the Saurian Cave, and that thing was a beast back in the day, bro. But what I was saying in the Discord is, if it took me 32 hours to beat, now I casually played in a sense. I didn't grind or anything like that. And my Pokedex wasn't, amazing by any means. But if it took me 32 hours with the internet, because I did have to look up certain things, really to look up where you get the HM moves, but and sometimes where to go because once you get past like um, Cerulean City for Misty and stuff, I feel like it opens up so much of how you can go. So I ended up looking up what was the best way. Um, but I was saying like I would love to know how long it actually took me back in the day to beat that game, to beat Red. Because I feel like as a kid, you had no clue what to do. And even to this day, I still don't fully understand the type, like in, the major types, like water beats fire, fire beats grass. I kind of understand that, but like once it gets into like normal, dark, dragon, and everything, and then there's dual types and stuff, I have no clue what moves, what Pokemon is better, So back in the day, it was just literal brute forcing. I just over leveled the shit out of my Pokemon to beat them. So I could only imagine how many hours I actually put into those games. I really do think it was 100 plus. Because when I tell you I was playing this every single night that I could, I really was. And I went through so many batteries. So I just wish I could go back and know how many hours I actually put in. But back then, you didn't think about that. You just simply, you played, you know? And I never completed any Pokedex because I didn't have anybody to trade with that. The only trading we ever done was some cards back in the day. So, and now, they still kind of restrict it in a sense. They always make two games because they won't. I mean, I get it from a marketing standpoint. It's kind of shitty if you think about it. Like, they want you to buy two games. But in their head, what they'll always say is they want you to, and that's what Pokemon really is about, is going out exploring and becoming friends with other people to trade. So, I get it. But I've never had somebody, I guess, who's had the love for Pokemon like I have. So they've never had the games in that sense. Now, obviously, I've encountered people, so that's possibly my fault of just not exploring those avenues of other people that had the games. So, you know, I wish somebody right now had Leaf Green and did play it and I could just trade with them. But I'll wait until Pokemon Home. I think I have all the Pokemon from Pokemon Go that I can just complete it. But earlier, like I said, the cool thing about Fire Red is it actually unlocks not just the original 150, and then it's split between the two versions, but you unlock the national decks with the Johto, Gen 2. So, like I said earlier, I'm stuck trying to catch Ho-Oh, which is a Gen 2 legendary. So, like, that's insane. I actually got how many, what is the total number of Pokemon in Fire Red you can catch? So it's 170 to 180 Pokemon in a single playthrough without trading. It's roughly 215. So You got the Kanto 151. How's it 151 if you can't get Mew? Huh. With trading and post game is 214, 215. Single game, no trading is 169 to 180. And then looking at this article, several Pokemon from the national dex of it'd be out of 386. I guess because that includes Gen 1 and 2, are completely unattainable without using games like Coliseum or cheating. Oh damn, you could have used Pokemon Coliseum back in the day? Wow. Um but yeah, and it does suck because some of the coolest Pokemon only evolved from trading back in the day. So like freaking Gengar, Alakazam, Machamp. It sucked. And then another cool thing. So yeah, so with Fire Red, I guess because I didn't play Fire Red. Like I said, I just played Red and just 1 through 3 gen. So when they came out with the remakes, Fire Red and Leaf Green, and also the reason it is Leaf Green is because technically the original in Japan it only had two versions, red and green. So, but when it came to America, it was red and blue. So they did special events for these games, and I don't. I guess you had to be at like an physical event to get a certain item, which was a ticket to go into the game, and it would allow you to go to a certain place in the Sevi Islands to obtain Ho-Oh, Lugia, and Deoxys. And I think a lot of people were afraid you weren't going to be able to do that with this because those were exclusive tickets that you could get back in the day. So they actually unlocked them all in the game. You just have to do a certain quest. So um that's awesome. And then so you got the two legendary or the major legendary birds of Hoa and Lugia, and then three, in Kanto. But then you have Deoxys, and then you also have the freaking dogs, Raikou, Entei, or Suicune. And it depends on what starter you used. Luckily for me, I chose Charmander, and I will hopefully, if I continue to play and I encounter them, I will be getting Suicune. Suicune is my favorite of the legendary dogs, so that's awesome. And like back in the day, you only had one Master Ball, and you used it on. Did you have a Master Ball? You had to have a Master Ball. Did you have a Master Ball in Red? Pokemon Red. Yes, you received one, but it was only in blue and yellow. It says. Could you not get for red? I could have sworn you got it in in the original red too. Huh. But if you did, you just used it on freaking Mewtwo. Maybe you only got blue. No, yeah, okay, red, blue, and yellow. Yeah, so you used it on freaking Mewtwo because he was like level 70, and if you made it through the cave, your Pokemon was already worn down, and you had to have him in a sliver of health. You had to have him like asleep and everything. So now, because the dogs are in here and they can just immediately leave, you save the master ball for them, and that's what I'm gonna do. But speaking of like how many hours I would have put in the original games, I don't know how we had the patience back in the day to catch these legendary Pokemon. And that's truly the biggest difference compared to the older games to now. Is literal patience. Because legendaries now, like in freaking Scarlet and Violet, your little Pokemon starter essentially, or whatever, is the legendary in the series. So it's dumb. But the legendaries that you encounter, they're just so easy to catch. But basically, the reason I say that is last night I was trying to catch Ho-Oh. I totally messed up anyways. Because most of the legendaries, I'm pretty sure, like you see their physical form. It's the only time you ever see the Pokemon just standing there. Because in the original games, you have to go in the wild and the grass and stuff, and you encounter them. But the legendaries are just standing there. So you have the option to walk up to them, around them, or whatever, and then you engage them. But I didn't realize for Ho-Oh, because it's Fire Red and I've never played it, you walk up to the platform and then he engages automatically. So I didn't have a chance to save it because I'm a dumbass and only had 4 Pokemon because I was trying to do breeding. So, and I had 2 of them were low level because freaking Ho-Oh I think is level 70. Yeah, 70. So, and of course this bitch has Recover and it has 20 points in it. So you have to physically like remember and count how many times I use that. You're just basically trying to get it back and forth. And I haven't spent any money to, get potions and everything like that yet. Because I'll have to go through the Elite Four several more times. But basically, I got him down so many times, only using Ultra Balls, never caught him. And then my Pokemon just actually ended up killing him by accident. So I was like, this is insane to think what we went back in the day of trying to catch legendaries, of how many Ultra Balls or Great Balls that we threw, how many times we had to paralyze or sleep them. It was awesome for us back in the day. But now, like, I feel like if the newer generations were to go back and play those, they would be like, what the hell was happening? Why am I not catching this Pokemon in 5 to 6 balls? So, but overall, I have an absolute blast going through it, just remembering certain things. And I do want to continue to play because there aren't a lot of games. Like, I have games that I would like to play. There's just nothing that's like I want to sink my teeth in. I'm also still trying to figure out this whole routine with the second child and shit. So, but Pokemon will always have a grasp on me. And I'm glad I've stuck with it in the past 5 to 7 years. Getting back into the TCG, playing Pokemon Go, playing the Pocket game, and now we have Pokemon games coming out every year or two. It's slowing down, which is odd because they used to crank these things out. So, but it's good because I think Pokemon, for a long time, the last few games have taken a hit in terms of production value, even though they are the biggest media franchise in the world, and it's not even close. Like the games have suffered from quality, and that's not an excuse. I don't think it's Game Freak. I think it's Nintendo pushing. So hopefully Gen 10 will run much better on the Switch 2 since it's capable of doing good things. But yeah, so far Fire Red, and it was awesome. I want to catch those legendaries. Once home comes the capability, I will maybe complete the Pokedex and that'd be awesome because, like I said, I've never completed any Pokedex in any game besides the Legends games, but those are easy to do. So, but yeah, just really wanted to hop on and do an episode talking about my experience with Pokemon Fire Red. It's great. I love Pokemon. Hopefully, my children will love Pokemon, and it'll just continue. I'm sure it will continue because of how big it is. So, and then Nintendo get her head out of her asses, and then until Gen 10 comes, let's put more out. Heart Gold, Soul Silver, please. I want to play those. Omega Ruby, and I think it's Alpha. I don't know. I want to play those again. Those were awesome. Please. I will pay $20. And I truly wish they would have did like a whole package deal. Like I would have paid literally $120 for the first 3 gen Pokemon games, all of them combined. So we'll see. I know they're kind of shady in their practices, and it seems like the entire gaming industry, they always have so many secrets and they don't want to do shit. That makes sense for the gamers. But, we can't control that, unfortunately. But thank you for listening to me ramble about Pokemon, the franchise I will always love, even how shit it is and how shitty the TCG has gotten. We can barely afford to buy certain cards. So, screw scalpers. They're a bunch of cunts. But yeah, I don't think there's anything big coming up next week. We'll see. There's rumor of a state of play before, Summer Game Fest. That's coming up pretty quickly. And I hope we see some shit about Final Fantasy VII. They've been talking about this freaking game for the last, it feels like 7 months, and there's just nothing to show. We need something, bro. Next year is the 30th anniversary of it. Please, let's talk about it. The literal director has said that he's beaten Final Fantasy VII Part 3 40 times, and they haven't shown off a single trailer, teaser, not an image, not even the name of the freaking game. I hope it's like Return or something. I don't know. Maybe something cooler, because we have Remake, Rebirth, and then it has to be an R. I don't know. Return. I don't know. I'm just super excited. And by the time it comes out, hopefully I'll be in a better routine and I can just blow through it. And I hope they conclude it correctly. I know a lot of people have had a lot to say about Rebirth, but, Rebirth was my game of the year, absolutely, hands down. The combat is amazing. The story, I know, has got convoluted, but that's all games, in a sense. Like, you can't sit here and tell me that anyone who loves Kingdom Hearts is like a freaking whiz at that when it comes to the storyline. No. Stop complaining. Play the game. It's going to be amazing. So, another rant. Anyways, we're going to end it there. Thank you for listening. Follow us on Spotify. Follow us on YouTube. Give us feedback. I don't care if you say we suck. We out here. I'm just trying to put episodes out. So, yeah. Thank you for listening, and remember, you can always continue to believe us. If you don't, peace.